Season 2 of DTBY's community podcast hosted by the CYC.
We are a movement dedicated to inspiring, mentoring, and building the leadership qualities of tomorrow's leaders.
Last season, our focus was promoting inclusivity and raising awareness about organizations making a difference in our community.
Season, we're focusing on individuals who are creating impact on the lives of youth.
Before we introduce this episode's guest, we would first like to offer a land acknowledgement.
Although this gathering is virtual, we recognize that DTBY convenes on the treaty lands of the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation and the traditional territory of many nations, including the Haudenosaunee and the Huron-Wendat peoples, also serving as home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples.
At the Dare to Be Youth charity, we are proud to promote the spirit of helping, sharing, and caring for our neighbors without the expectation that has been exemplified by each of these nations as the first peoples of this land for thousands of years. And we wish to acknowledge our gratitude for the ongoing opportunity to live, work, and build community on this land.
It is our collective responsibility to care for each other, to care for these lands. And it is past time to turn reflection into action. We challenge ourselves and everyone here today to commit to one tangible next step to move this work forward.
Welcome back to DTBY's community podcast, and welcome to the 9th episode of our new season. My name is Zishan, and I'll be the host for this episode alongside Michaela. On behalf of the DTBY and the rest of the CYC, it is our pleasure to welcome David, the winner of Python Spit 2015. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, Zishan. It's really excited to chat with you guys today about Python Spit and my experience and kind of everything in between. But thanks for having me.
Thank you. So to start, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do now in a post-Python Pit world?
Yeah, no, for sure. It's been a while. So lots has changed in my life since the Python Spit days. But currently, I'm the manager of corporate citizenship at Volunteer Canada. Volunteer Canada is a national charity that aims to increase the participation, the diversity, and quality of volunteering projects and the state of volunteerism in Canada. So we're kind of the national body and the national voice on volunteerism. And Python Spit's run by a lot of volunteers and started with Rotary. So it's kind of a natural fit for me and my community engagement work that I've done over the last decade or so. So that's kind of my formal 9 to 5. I like to say my 5 to 9, which is outside of my 9 to 5. I currently sit on the board of the directors of the Home Women's Place, which is a charity and a women's shelter in the Halton region. I was on the city's housing task force for a while as well in Burlington, and kind of just keep my toes dipped in a lot of different areas of politics and housing and development and those kinds of things as well. So those are kind of the things that I keep busy with. I currently live in Toronto. I was in Burlington for 25 years and then left last year and moved into the west end of Toronto, but still quite connected to the Burlington community and, love to chat about, organizations and programs like Python Spit. That was, a really important thing for me at the time. So a little bit about me.
So you applied to Python Spit 2015 and you ended up winning. Can you tell us a little about this experience and why you decided to apply in the first place?
Yeah, for sure. So there's a bit of a funny backstory to our application process in Python Spit, where we were, I don't even think we made the first round of initial cuts when we applied. And then I think somebody dropped out and then we made it to the top 10 and we, had our in-person interviews and then we ended up winning. So that's a learning lesson we'll talk about a little bit later about, trusting your gut and your product and business and being able to, leverage some other skills in that process too. But, often when you're in high school, if you're in business or any other classes, chances are you've thought of something. It's an idea, it's something at home. How can I make life easier? How can I make life better for people? Whether it's something small or something big, it's something that a lot of us think about. And when we're in business classes, entrepreneurship class, marketing class, all of those business courses that are offered in high school, often you get tasked with some sort of project where you have to come up with a business idea or make a marketing plan for something that currently exists already. And then, that just kind of gets the ball rolling in your head around, what can I think of? What can I do? But often, we think that, there's a huge startup cost to businesses, and it's not really a reality. And we're thinking so big versus thinking so small when we do these projects. But a lot of the legwork's already done when you do that in school. So when Python's Pit was available and in the community, and it was started by the Rotary groups, and they were doing such great work promoting it in the community. It was kind of a project that we had already started working on in school. So we just kind of, a couple friends and I got together and figured, why don't we try and win some money? And I think, that was at the beginning, that was our driving force. You're like, if we can win some cash and then, leverage something that we already had built, it would be a really cool opportunity to get a good experience but then win some money. So I think that, the money component is a big driver for when you're in high school. $1,000 is a lot of money. It still is, but that was a big reason. But we had an idea and we wanted to try it out, and that was kind of the interest in applying.
Cool. And I don't know, do you mind sharing what your idea was? You don't have to go into like the full detail.
Yeah, no, for sure. It was an app for like coffee orders. So this was pre Starbucks app, pre Tim Hortons and McDonald's apps, and now they're all stealing our ideas. But we were ahead of the game. We had an app that kind of put coffee's order into it, and it showed you the closest location, and it showed you the total price, and yeah. So it was cool at its time. And then about a year later, all the other big coffee companies started coming out with their own apps and their own rewards and loyalty programs. So
you guys were ahead of your time.
I guess so.
So for our next question, what specific skills and experience would you say you gained from participating in this whole process, the idea generation, the interviewing, the actual pitch?
Yeah, no, that's a fantastic question. And it's really hard to name just a few, because I'm still finding benefits that I've derived from this program and experience. But if I had to nail it down to a couple, it would be just confidence. Getting yourself in front of people that aren't necessarily your peers or family or friends, like getting in front of people that are just involved in the community leaders, businesses, politicians, entrepreneurs, and having conversations with adults. It's daunting to have those kinds of conversations when you're on your own when you're in high school, and when you can be part of something that kind of builds that foundation for you to have those conversations. It makes it a little bit easier. And then every time you have those conversations get easier. And that's how networking starts. You start to build relationships with people. So, confidence is a big one. And that just plays into, public speaking as well. That was kind of like one of the first avenues I had with speaking to on a TV show. And then, once I left the program, I worked with Farine and was the MC on the show for a few years as well when we were filming it. And then, was the MC at the live production of the Burlington Performing Arts Center as well. So that whole public speaking kind of kickstarted that skill set for me specifically. And I think another area too is just critical thinking. And that's a skill set that is extremely valuable in today's workforce and workplace, is that, how do I take a situation? How do I think critically about it? And, have that kind of emotional intelligence and creativity to navigate challenges. And, they're not looking to break your business in half. They're looking to ask you questions that make you think. How is this going to do in 2 years, with the trends of this and this and this happening? Or how is tech going to influence your business? Or how is the labor shortage going to influence your businesses? And those are the kinds of questions that, they're not looking to sewer you, but they want you to think critically about the business. And, having the expertise of the Pythons is extremely valuable as a sounding board when you're thinking and trying to get creative with your idea. So I would say definitely confidence and critical thinking are probably the two biggest skills that I gained from the program.
How would you say participating has impacted you and the person you've become today with all the skills that you've learned?
Yeah, no, awesome question. I'm going to focus on the people component of this, and we'll get into it later when we talk about some of my suggestions for the youth that are participating today and this year. But to me, this whole program was about, and the experience was about the people I got to meet. I got to work with some of my closest friends on a business idea, which was an amazing time well spent. I got to meet, a number of business leaders in the community, and before we had a variety of steps involved where you got to work with, the Halton Region Small Business Center, and they would look at your business as well. So meeting lots of folks along that journey, the mentors, the Rotarians that were involved, the other participants who I still kind of keep in touch with now and then. And when I was MC, I was really fortunate to kind of make some connections with some of the other winners as well from the other years. So, I was able to build a network of like-minded people that were really interested in making an impact, whether it be through their community, whether it be through Python's Pit, but they wanted to get involved. And, sometimes we don't know how or where or when to get involved, but having an avenue like this to be able to do that is so important. So, I think that, that's the people component was the biggest for me. It's one of those things where you get what you give. If you're eager and you get in the door and you're wanting to say hi to people and get to know them and learn about why they're involved, and just as much as you're involved, they're volunteering their time as well. So find out why they're involved and find out what makes them excited about being there and getting to know you. And that was such a fortunate opportunity for me, because I scheduled one-on-ones with a lot of the Pythons afterwards. A lot of them became my mentors, and sounding boards for me in other areas of my life. And it was just a natural opportunity to get to grow my professional network and to really surround myself with people that cared and people that were genuine about wanting to support younger people. It didn't just end when the program ended. That's the importance of fostering these relationships, is that I still keep in touch with a lot of the Pythons as well, and the folks that are now good friends of mine. And one of them, Michelle Bailey, I'll send this to her after we're done filming, because she has been such an important mentor in my life and connected me with so many great people. And she owns a marketing agency in Oakville. And she launched this whole new book program that she's like a career coach for people called My Big Idea. And she let me take part of the program, and it was just kind of took me under her wing, and it was a really natural opportunity to foster those kinds of relationships with great people. So that was like the people are the biggest component, I think.
It definitely sounds like it was a really valuable experience, and it's great to meet people, right? Like it's great to get involved in like school
For sure.
clubs, extracurriculars. I've met like so many people just doing that. You'll never know when you'll reconnect again along the way. So it's really nice to meet people like that and form those long-lasting connections. So
And they are things that take work, right? And that's another thing to emphasize too, is that it's like watering a plant. The more you water it, the healthier it's going to be. But it takes time and effort to nurture that plant, like you have to nurture any relationship. And if you don't water it and you don't take care of it, it's going to die. And that's why this kind of gives you a low risk opportunity to get to know some really cool people in the community that are on your side. And there are going to be times in your life when you're building relationships with people that don't know anything about you, and you're kind of going in colder, but this kind of gets your feet wet. It gives you that opportunity to get to know people, and that's a huge value component.
I like how you said it's no risk too. There really is no risk. Like why not apply?
Yeah. And if people say no to you at any point in your life, it's like you have to do it for the couple yeses that you get, right? The 100 no's lead to 3 yeses, and the 3 yeses could change your life. And I know that's a little broad and big picture, but it's so true. I think about all the times I've been denied for things my whole life, asking people for time, for a meeting, for a coffee, for advice, and people that said no or just didn't answer, didn't have time. But there are some people who say yes and take a chance on you, but you don't get that if you don't try.
So we talked about like the mentorship aspect, the networking aspect, the skills you've built. Is there any other reasons you would recommend why a high school student should apply to Python's Pit?
Yeah, I mean, it's a chance to get creative. I mean, how often do you get the opportunity to take part in something where you get to kind of just throw something out into the world and see if it sticks, right? Like and you can win some money doing it. I mean, it's really, there's no downside to me to applying cash prize for thinking outside the box and thinking of something that could potentially do something. And I don't, there are probably not a lot of businesses that have become real businesses from the people that have won this program. But I know people that have won this program that have started their own small businesses. They weren't the idea that they thought of, but this kind of gave them the opportunity to try it out in a low risk opportunity and get some feedback around something that they care about. And one of them, I could just think of a few people that I know that have been part of this program that now have their own small businesses and they're their own entrepreneurs, and or whether they work full time and they do that as a side hustle. And I like to think that maybe this program, and I know that this program did play a role in that, and inspiring someone to trust themselves and to believe in something that they've come up with in their head. And that's, having that self-trust and having that belief in yourself is everything.
Awesome.
With there being so many opportunities and paths, what tips do you have for youth applying to Python Spit 2023?
Yeah, no, for sure. The application process isn't too hardy, from what I remember. I don't think I've seen this year's if it's changed at all, but really be specific. I think that was what are you trying to do? And you also don't need to come up with, a completely new product, like a heated driveway or a heated, like snow shovel, or, the newest and greatest windshield wipers for cars. Like, I think it's about, it doesn't have to be a wild out of the box innovation idea. Like, it can be, Burlington, we don't have any like repair businesses for golf carts. So you know what, there's a market demand for it, and we have a lot of golf courses, and there's nobody that does this because maybe my uncle complained that he couldn't find anywhere to service his golf cart. Like, it's about finding that niche and that market opportunity and just kind of selling it, right? Like, it's a matter of, and if you're passionate about the idea, I think that's a big part of it too, is pretend, whether you fake it till you make it or you love your business idea. I didn't love our business idea and think it was going to change the world, but whether we faked half of it till we made it, or we were invested in the other half of it, it's about just like convincing yourself that this is a cool opportunity and there's no risk, and all I'm going to do is gain from it. And so be specific in your application, really read the questions and answer what they're trying to get at, and try not to use kind of fluffy jargon, because it kind of probably get overlooked because it's not really relevant to what you're trying to do. But focus on the need, focus on what you're solving, focus on the opportunity that exists for this product or this business or this service. And that's the thing too. It can be a service, it can be a business, it can be a product, it can be anything really, right? So don't bound yourself with just trying to create the newest, coolest, gadget or something like that. So trying to think if there's anything else. Get your application on time. That's always important to remember. So try not to be late. And maybe get a second set of eyes to look at it. Often, like, I think we had our business teacher in grade 11 take a look at our application and just kind of give us some thoughts, and maybe, or your parents, if they're a little business savvy, or if they just want to take a look at it, ask for some feedback. And don't take the feedback personally. Nobody's trying to oust you or kind of make you look bad, but taking criticism and constructive criticism is a really good skill to learn as well. And taking kind of the ego component out of it, and people aren't attacking your business, but they want you to succeed. So those are some tips I think that would probably help some people in their application.
Yeah, I think those are some good tips. I think a lot of times, like, when you look at kind of like a challenge like this, you're trying to think like really big, but sometimes like the best things are standing right in front of you. So I know I've done a bunch of different business projects at school, and yeah, the complicated ones never quite as good as the just simple solution ones. So
Often that's so true. And what you were just saying made me think about when we did our first round of interviews, when we applied the year that we were involved, when we had just made the top 10 cut, and we were having them at the Halton Region Small Business Center, and I forgot to mention this in one of the tips as well, is if you're involved in the live performance, figure out some way to hook your audience. What we did, and we were obviously, it was designed to be some sort of like way to know how people took their orders. It was kind of like a social platform so if you added all your friends onto your order, they had already inputted their order, so then you always know what they want. So what we did is we showed up to the application when we did our pitch in our first round with coffees, but we brought cups like the Take 10 from Tim Hortons. We were like, we would have ordered what you guys, or what you wanted, but we had no idea what you want, and we're going to solve that problem today through talking about our app. And it was like just a cheap and easy way to hook the audience and to kind of have them thinking like, oh, that actually is kind of a small problem. Like, had we had this app, they probably could have showed up with everyone's right order versus kind of generalizing an order. So think of ways to hook and highlight a problem, and often it's a problem that people don't even know exists, right? Like, it's something that maybe you run into, and then you highlight it, and then people will be like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. So just trust yourself, trust your gut, and just practice, because owning your pitch, honing in on the things that are important, highlighting the need, highlighting the opportunity, are all things that they're going to be looking for.
I love that idea to start a presentation. That's great. But those are definitely all some great tips for everyone that will be applying this year. And on that note, that concludes this episode of DTBY's community podcast. On behalf of DTBY and the CYC, I'd like to thank you for joining us today, David, and sharing a little bit about your experience with Python's Pit.
Yeah, thank you so much to the both of you for your work with DTBY and on the council. And it's so great to see people involved, and especially in the charity work. As someone who works for a national charity, this is you're all speaking my language. So it was a real pleasure to get to know you both and be part of the conversation today.
And for any high school students watching or listening right now, applications for Python's Pit 2023 close on October 5th. So make sure to get your applications in before the deadline for the chance to pitch your big impact ideas live at Youth Inspired Community Day on November 5th. Receive professional mentorship as well as all the other great benefits David talked about. And you could also win $1,000. So very cool stuff.
There you go.
Apply.
Yeah, no, that's awesome.